Hello everyone. Long time no see. I apologize for my absence, but as you know, the past few years have been difficult, to say the least. But enough of my rambling and talking about the mundane minutiae of my life. Let's get straight into it. Also, happy October. One more thing I forgot to mention. The third and final story can be a little touchy for some people, just because it talks about, it has some suggestive themes, so just giving you guys a heads up. Without further ado, here we go. SCP-053, Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-053 is to be contained in an area no less than 5 meters by 5 meters, or 16 by 16 feet, and given adequate room to move. Toys, books, games, and other recreational devices are to be amply provided and rotated every 3 months. Proper bedding, bathroom, and medical facilities are to be maintained at all times. Food should be provided 3 times daily, and 2 snacks are allowed if requested. No physical contact is to be made with SCP-053 without full atmosphere containment suit and eye shield. No eye contact is to be made with SCP-053 for any reason. Any objects given to personnel by SCP-053 may be removed but must be given to quarantine for examination. Only one member of personnel may be present in the room at any given time and must be secured by a safety line of steel cable. All personnel must be removed from SCP-053's containment chamber within 10 minutes of entering. Any personnel who begin to act erratically, scream, or attempt to grab SCP-053 are to be removed and quarantined. Any personnel attempting to remove their suit are also to be removed and quarantined. No sharp objects or firearms are allowed in SCP-053's containment room. Description: SCP-053 appears to be a small 3-year-old girl. She is capable of basic speech and appears to be slightly above average in mental development. She has a generally pleasant personality and rarely seems upset, becoming agitated only in the presence of groups of people. Any and all humans over the age of 3 who make eye contact with, physically touch, or remain around SCP-053 for longer than 10 minutes will rapidly become irrational, paranoid, and homicidal. Most, if not all, of these feelings will be directed at SCP-053, and afflicted subjects will attempt to kill SCP-053 after first killing or driving off all humans visible to them. Those attempting to kill SCP-053 will suffer massive heart attacks or seizures and die seconds after doing any physical damage to SCP-053. SCP-053 will regenerate almost instantaneously from any wound, regardless of severity. SCP-053 appears wholly ignorant of these effects and ignores any and all subjects affected. When questioned about the effect, SCP-053 is incapable of response. SCP-273, Object Class, Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-273 is held in an enclosure 5 meters by 10 meters in size, half of which is closed off for the subject's privacy. All major structural and facing materials of the cell are of fireproof and non-thermally conductive materials. A bedroll and other modest furnishings are allowed, provided they remain in the private section, and that all consumption of food be performed in the adjacent area. All windows from the observation room into the enclosure are composed of heat-treated glass of at least 1 centimeter total thickness, with an insulated gap in between. Heat and infrared sensors in both enclosures and observations are set to produce an alarm if any temperature exceeds 50 degrees Celsius. Observing staff are required to evacuate the room in such an event. Food in the room or raw meat must be provided every 12 hours for consumption, at least 2.5 kilograms per feeding. Other foods may be provided at SCP-273's request, provided good behavior continues. All clothing provided to SCP-273 must be either flame-resistant in nature or be of inexpensive make and fabrics. SCP-273 is not to be interacted with in person if it has not consumed a meal of raw meat of at least 2.5 kilograms mass within the last 12 hours. In light of Incident 273-02, alcoholic beverages in excess of 50% alcohol by volume must not be provided to SCP-273, nor should any other flame accelerants be provided. All staff interacting with SCP-273 must be armed with non-lethal defense measures. Lethal force should not be used. Description: SCP-273 resembles a middle-aged woman of Indian descent. DNA samples and medical tests indicate SCP-273 conforms to human normal in all other respects, despite the subject's abnormalities. SCP-273 feels no need to eat or drink, but is perfectly capable of doing so. SCP-273 has generally shown willingness of compliance and cooperation with the Foundation's containment and requests. SCP-273 suffers from what is described as a hunger, which requires regular feeding every 12 hours. This hunger satiates itself through a form of remote combustion. This produces no visible flames, instead oxidizing the subject from the outside until reduced to a fine white ash. Metals are not consumed except under special circumstances. See Incident Report 273-03. When tested, the hunger demonstrates a preference for meat over other organic matter, especially live human subjects. SCP-273 exhibits no signs of conscious control over its satiation and becomes upset upon consuming live animals. In response to testing with D-Class personnel, SCP-273 screamed at OP data expunged into the corner of its private enclosure and refused to enter the partition for 12 hours. Addendum 273-01. In the event of SCP-273's death, the body becomes the center of a large conflagration, marked by a central pillar of approximately 1 meter in width and extending far upwards. After the initial flames subside, all that remains of SCP-273's body is a pile of white ash with a corona of faint blue flame. The flame is not extinguishable through oxygen deprivation and requires no fuel. Over the course of several hours, SCP-273's body slowly reforms from the ash pile by consuming any source of raw material nearby, including the surrounding air in this state. Slow consumption of inorganic material has been observed. The new body resembles the old in all ways, with no signs of injury or illness. When SCP-273's body is completely reformed, it awakens with no memory of events after its recent death. Incident Report 273-01. Date redacted. Location data expunged. The Foundation received reports of a thin pillar of flame exceeding 70 meters in height and resulting wildfires witnessed in the vicinity of redacted. Due to the anomalous shape and duration of the flame, a small MTF was dispatched to the location. Bodies of 2 deceased Caucasians, 1 male and 1 female, were found at the point of origin of the fires. The cause of death later determined to be severe third-degree burns. SCP-273 was found shortly thereafter, unclothed and covered in white ash, standing over a deer carcass, with radiated anomalous amounts of heat. Carcass crumbled to ash and coals at a touch. SCP-273 was cooperative at this juncture and followed the task force out. SCP-273 was then transported to Site Redacted for evaluation and containment. Partial transcript of interview with SCP-273. Interviewer, Dr. Redacted. Forward. SCP-273 had been obtained the day prior and introduced to a temporary holding cell in Site Redacted. A video camera situated behind Dr. Redacted provided visual records of the interview.
You are saying then that I will be kept safe here, away from people?
Yes, 273.
Thank you. And by the way, my name is... You may use that instead.
Noted. What was the first thing you remember from when you were younger?
I woke up and was surrounded by flames and covered in ash. It was the first time, I think.
You remember nothing else from before that? How long ago was this? How old were you?
It is not proper to only ask one question at a time.
Answer the question, please.
I don't. It was a very long time ago. Probably.
And how old were you? Years.
That much I remember. I think I made some great mistake. Perhaps that is why I am what I am now.
And what are you now?
Containment.
Note, the preceding interview transcript omits 3 minutes and 7 seconds from the beginning and all parts after the last line for a reason. Level 3 clearance or higher is required for access to the original recordings. Know that SCP-273 admitted in the former omitted fragment to involuntarily killing the 2 deceased subjects found near her point of extraction. SCP-273 also identifies the victims as old friends. Staff members working with or observing SCP-273 are to be reminded of this fact and of procedure for working with humanoid SCPs in general. Dr. Incident Report 273-02. Date redacted. Location redacted. Agents, both redacted, entered the enclosure of SCP-273 with intent to question regarding redacted. SCP-273 had earlier been granted a bottle of Bacardi 151 for personal use by Agent Redacted. It has been 12 hours and 37 minutes since the last scheduled feeding. Upon the agent's entry, SCP-273 demanded that they leave. When they did not at first, SCP-273 became agitated, shouting at them and gesturing frantically. Less than 1 second after they secured the door, the bottle of Bacardi was observed to data expunged. Data expunged. Extreme damage to SCP-273's enclosure and observation room due to flames of unprecedented strength. Recorded temperatures exceeded redacted degrees Celsius. Agent Redacted's death will be handled as per normal procedure. They are still in recovery as of this writing. SCP-273's ashes have been contained in an airtight, fireproof safe. The damaged enclosure is to be repaired for future use in containing other SCPs. Incident Report 273-03. Date redacted. Location, site redacted. The fireproof safe was found to be ineffective in containing SCP-273. Severe corrosion damage to the interior and hinges of the safe led to breach of containment, followed by the resumed revival of SCP-273. 3 kilograms of raw pork was left in the room and the door secured. Upon awakening, SCP-273 appeared disoriented, but consumed the offered meal as expected. SCP-273 then requested to return to its original containment, as said enclosure has been repaired. This request will be carried out immediately. Addendum 273-03-2. SCP-273's activity has changed drastically since the death event. It rarely leaves the private partition of its enclosure except to feed, and refuses to speak. Surveillance using redacted shows that SCP-273 barely moves when on its own, either sleeping or sitting against one wall. It shows classic signs of depression despite having no prior indications of such a condition, recommending close observations for any additional changes in behavior. SCP-597. Object Class: Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-597 is to be guarded and researched by a rotating monthly shift. Those in charge of the design of the containment procedures are not allowed contact with the SCP. If at all possible, this duty should be left to an overseer-level personnel. No one is to be allowed to view on video or through a window or be in the same room as SCP-597 for longer than 5 hours. Maintenance personnel are to alternate every day. Evaluations are to be given at the end of the shift or whenever mental distress seems obvious. If psychological contamination is too great and poses a tangible danger, termination can be performed immediately by the on-site analyst. The mental health offices are soundproofed for this purpose. The doctor can terminate up to 10 individuals at a time. Any more requires the approval of an overseer. In this scenario, Procedure 597-32, Weaning the Babies, is to be activated. Vents in the ceiling require regular maintenance for this purpose. Smoke detectors are not to be turned off for any reason. Candles and incense lit in 597's cell are to be taken as an indication of a dangerous obsession. The leaving and offering of food, as 597 does not require it, is to be viewed with the same light as well. All other signs of unnatural love and religious awe are to be reported along with these. The room and the surrounding area are to be sealed with ventilation shafts, plumbing, and wiring checked daily. Measures are to be put into place for the continuous extermination of all vermin in the facility. Animals not part of the study found suckling on SCP-597 are to be removed and terminated as soon as possible due to the risk of biological contamination. Because of this, in the morning, workers must wear hazmat suits while entering the cell, for SCP-597 is often covered in vermin, including mice, opossums, squirrels, and bats. 597 is to be hosed down weekly with special care given to the areas around the nipples to prevent the buildup of saliva and drool. Those suckling need washing daily, as does the floor underneath them, for the removal of the puddles of urine, feces, for the first few days, but when solids completely leave the body, this is no longer necessary, although occasionally a thin watery substance is secreted, and vomit, which is produced when they drink too eagerly, quickly, or out of rhythm. The cleaning products are to be plain and unscented. Use of aromatics or herbal oils will be noted, and no scrubbing is to be done by hand. Description: SCP-597 is a blob of flesh, approximately 5.8 meters, or 19 feet high, and 35 feet wide, although this measurement changes slightly when it moves or the substance expands and ripples. All over its body, mostly located on its rolls, are hundreds and hundreds of teats of various colors and sizes. Whenever a mammal is released into its cell, it will be drawn into the corresponding teat for its species and then proceed to suckle as long as they are embedded. The milk released will be identical in every way to the makeup of the subject's mother, although able to sustain the subject's nutritional needs indefinitely. While the fluid is the same as normal milk, chemically, for some reason, whether it be an effect of the SCP or an unknown quality of the substances it excretes, any full-grown mammal that would normally require more can survive to the end of their normal lifespan, give or take a few years, simply by suckling at the nipple. Although their teeth will fall out, their muscles will atrophy due to a lack of use. The subjects will curl up as close as possible on the side, lay under the SCP, and there have been reports of suffocation, or immerse themselves and dive into the flesh itself, and stomach problems are presented because of the all-diet liquid. Milk taken in a bottle does not have the same results, although those already affected by SCP-597 will fall under a quasi-hypnotic hold when presented with a container, and will do anything to possess it and find drinking it very gratifying. Those in charge of bottling the liquid have the urge to use a rubber teat for feeding babies as a cover, even when a normal lid will suffice, and will attempt to do so even when informed that in its violation is a dangerous material protocol, not being an airtight seal. The urge to suckle is a mental, physical, and sexual compulsion, while lower life forms cannot resist its effects at all. Humans can, although they experience great difficulty. Those in SCP-597's presence describe it as a mental pull, leading us to the conclusion that it is partially telepathic, although it is obviously appeals to deep instincts and is hormonal as well. Endorphins associated with breastfeeding and maternal comforts are released. Those who do give in do so in a mad rush, all restraint broken at once, or a slow ritual commonly involving bowing, kneeling, crawling, and chanting. They are reduced quickly to an infantile state, and within 1 hour, all linguistic abilities, intellectual capabilities, and willpower. Before a complete loss of brain function, it is said to be highly comforting and pleasurable, and they say they feel safe, like never before. Before and after contact is made, there are reports of strong feelings associated with vague images and recollections and sensations, all traced back to the womb or crib, often centered around remembrance of their parents' smell and facial appearances. Data expunged, retarded, blind, and permanently attached. Data expunged, data expunged. Those who watch are also influenced, although in lesser or different ways. Increased pattiness, regression to childish states, extreme immaturity, decreased bowel control, fetishization, promiscuity, and even reports of public masturbation have all been noted. Staff's IQs, focus, and rationality all drop significantly over a period of time with SCP-597. And they often will fight with each other over silly things such as objects or perceived insults, be racked with laughing and crying fits, be unable to resolve problems in an adult way, and lose the ability to control their emotions. After 4 to 5 weeks, it is impossible for them to function in a work setting, and they all communicate with each other with a series of grunts, coos, and short, confused sentences. Attention should also be paid to the fact that the employee's name for the object degenerates from the official title SCP-597 to the mother, then to just mother, then mom, mommy, mum, and so forth, often ending in suckling, blowing, or kissing sounds as a representation. Also of interest is that almost immediately strong oral fixations will develop or resurface. Those who quit smoking will start again, a 100% occurrence, and the chewing of gum, snacking, gluttony, nail and lip biting, and hair chewing rises as well, almost to the point of psychosis. There are deadly weight gains, choking incidents, balls or clumps of human material obstructing the digestive system, murders over food. The vending machine is often completely empty, and dental and health problems. Doctors and personnel in the area of effect, even who's entering for a few moments, will find themselves absent-mindedly putting something in their mouth without realizing it. Observations of the employees in their homes or private lives also reveals data expunged, often to the point of only being aroused by data expunged. Men with already unstable or fragile egos find a strengthening in Oedipal complexes, often to dangerous levels. 3 employees have raped and murdered, data expunged. These same personality types also enjoy data expunged and request access to SCP-597 for that purpose. Unfortunately, although this behavior is not encouraged, those with this disease are too many to take a moral or ideological stance and completely restrict the activity without losing the needed number of workers. A good number are also high-level personnel, although revelation of their identity is forbidden and requires clearing the area and disabling the camera feeds so they can perform the act, which is not allowed to go over in an hour, or separation will cause seizures and homicidal tantrums. Specific procedures for sexual visits can be found in document 597-XD-12. Addendum 01. See document 597-XX-23, document 597-XX-23. Found currently at 597's base and sides are 61 specimens suckling. They are 4 dogs at its bottom area laying out in front of it like a litter, 6 cats, 27 rats hanging off its front. The wild vermin swarms that often hoard around it are especially problematic, but these are all lab-bred, except for SCP-597's SS-19 and SCP-597-SS-24, which refuse to be removed and are clamped too tightly on just to pull off. 15 bats that cover approximately all of its back, and their wings flapping spasmodically, creating a slight gust. And 8 humans, 4 D-class personnel, 3 doctors, and 1 guard. Addendum 02. See document 597-XD-12. Document 597-XD-X12. Data expunged. Data expunged. Data expunged. Care must be taken not to allow them to attempt to rip or tear a hole in 597 for penetration purposes. Data expunged. Addendum 03. See document 597-XX-25. Document 597-XX-25. An all-female task force has been shown not to be more effective in containment as demonstrated by 3 events. The development of bisexual tendencies in data expunged. The loss of 5 female guards who, after writing "Mommy, Mommy, how I love my mommy" all over the walls of the cell, were lost and began suckling. And the suicide of Dr. Van Essen, who, after circling each and every teat in red Sharpie marker and writing "life" next to them, shot herself in the head. Addendum 04. See document 597-XY-C13. Document 597-XY-C13. Data expunged. Data expunged. Inside the temple, the SCP was found, surrounded by scaffolding and staircases with ladders propped up against the meat to allow as many people as possible to partake in the event. Data expunged. And that wraps it up. Good to be back. I'll see you guys soon. And I promise. Take care. Sleep well.